Well, I've moved along with this build a little bit, just sort of getting on pylons and a few little odds and sods. Now, when it comes to pylons, I mean, I would normally sort of like leave them off of the actual aircraft itself, and then I'll probably go out and, like, we've got some cocktail sticks. You could probably nick these off the wife, so you probably haven't even got to pay for them, right? And I would probably, just like I've done here, drilled a little hole, right, and then all you got to do is poke your cocktail stick in there, and then you can spray this, you can even paint this, and sort of have hands free. When it comes to modeling and painting, spraying, paintbrushing, having hands free, i.e. you're not touching the piece that you're going to be painting or spraying. You've got something like this where it's attached by a cocktail stick, or even cocktail sticks with blue tack on the end if you so need to. So I mean, we've got this bit of our engine bit here. I'm leaving this off because it does just slot in there quite nicely. I'm leaving it off because it's a totally completely different color. We want like a natural metal finish on these, so if we can just like paint them separately, it just makes it a bit easier and neater to be able to like paint it. And we can just get some blue tack on the end of a cocktail stick, right, and that should stick in there nicely. And again, hands free. We can spray it with our spray can, prime it up, then we can brush coat it whatever natural metal finish we want. So there's all sorts of things like that. And as I say, I'd normally do that with the pylons, but with this one, when it comes to pylons, I like to sort of like test fit them, and if they fit really well, I'll normally sort of leave them off, drill a hole, put a cocktail stick in. If they don't fit quite that well and they need to be sort of glued into place, maybe even a little bit of filler, I'll actually go off and glue the pylons on like that. But moving along, we have our canopy section. So with the canopy, it's a bit of a pain, but because this is a basic build and it's like, we don't want to be spending loads of money, I would normally sort of come along and maybe, use some mascal. We could go off, we could get like the masking tape, but to go out and get some really good decent masking tape to mask up canopies, you want something like the Tamiya stuff. But again, it's going out and it's buying stuff and all these things mount up, and you end up spending loads and loads of money. So in this case, what I want to do is we're going to have to just brush paint it, and because we're going to be spraying it, we do still need to cover it. Well, first off, we want to sort of glue this into place. Well, first off, I do like to make sure that it is fitting as perfectly as possible. Alright, so that is looking quite good. I mean, maybe a slight little bit of a push. I mean, you don't want to push it that much that it cracks, because once it's cracked, that is it when it comes to canopies. But that's looking like a pretty good fit. What you also want to do is, if you've got like an anti-static cloth, I mean, you can probably again nick it off, this kind of stuff off your misses, anti-static cloths and stuff. Just make sure you give it a good sort of little bit of a dust clean sort of on the inside, right, because we've got all potentials for bits of hairs and debris. You mainly want to concentrate on the inside, because we're going to be gluing it in pretty sort of solid, right, and we ain't going to be able to get at the inside again after we've glued it in. So what we're going to do, I always like to start off with the front part of the canopy. Now when doing this, you could go off and go get some PVA glue. There are special glues in the hobby where it's like specifically for canopy glues, and it glues to a nice crystal clear finish, so you haven't got to worry about making mistakes. You can still use normal PVA glue, really easy to go off into any kind of shops and get it. I don't know, your kids might have some in their little craft box or something. Probably won't even have to pay for it, and if you do, it's going to be rather cheap. Probably good to use that, because if you do make any mistakes, because it's PVA glue, you could just pop it on and off as much as you like until you get it right. I do like to use like the Tamiya extra thin cement that I've already recommended. It glues nice and solid, but if you make any mistakes, you're going to mess up your canopy. So this is probably a glue you want to be using when you're sort of more sort of intermediate, advanced, and even then you sort of, you know, you can still make mistakes. So it's a bit of a risky glue to use. So PVA glue is a good one to go for. So we have some of that just here, some normal sort of hobby craft type glue, just getting out a palette. We squirt this on, there we go, got just a bit coming out of there. It's good to sort of, you know, let it sort of air a little bit, just to get the glue to be a little bit tacky, because what tends to happen is PVA glue isn't so sort of tacky when you first get it out, right? But give it a bit of time, it starts to dry a little bit and it starts to get a bit tacky. I mean, you don't want to leave it to dry too much, right? But you know, letting it get a bit tacky is always a good one. So I'm just now with a cocktail stick using sort of like the side of it just to get a nice little thin little layer of this glue going all the way around the edge, right? As I say, just sort of let it sort of, you know, give it a couple of seconds just to get a little bit tacky, and then we should be able to sort of just nicely place this down, right? Just like so. Right, now because it's PVA glue, I mean, it'll still dry sort of clearish, but not as clear as maybe as you want it. But again, this is a basic build. Then cotton wool bud, a little bit sort of moist, maybe sort of lick it or something. And then what we can do is sort of just wipe around the edges, because by wiping around the edges, any sort of oozed out PVA glue, right, we don't want that sort of just oozing out. See, we've got a bit just oozed out there while it's still wet, right? Our cotton wool bud is just going to get up any sort of messy bits. Right, so we've got our canopy on, as you can see, looking quite good. What we want to do now is we are going to be coming in with a spray can, so we want to sort of protect everything. So again, the missus is not going to be happy with you, but go off and sort of nick one of her sort of scouring pads just here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to cut out, I just like to sort of, you know, guesstimate about a size, right, a little bit bigger than what you want to fill, right? And a blade will just cut through this foam really easy, like a knife through butter. Right, so let's get what we've got so far, right? And then what we want to do is just sort of, again, we place it up against it, so we're just eyeballing it, guesstimating it, right? We want to sort of cut these little corners off, right? And we're just getting a sort of a general type of shape, but something a bit bigger than what it's going to go in. And then we can just sort of, once we've got sort of like a general shape going in, start tucking that in there. Maybe sort of get out a cocktail stick, right? And we can just push that in, right? Because if you remember in here, you know, all our air intake fans and stuff, they've been painted silver and stuff, and we don't want to repaint stuff, and it's going to be hard to get paint brushes in there. So by doing this, right, we're going to stop all this stuff that's in the back just here from getting overspray in there. I mean, we might have to touch up with the paint brushes around the edges, but it's no big deal. It just stops like the major of it being all sort of oversprayed in there. Then we got the canopy, which we don't want to use expensive stuff. So what I'm going to do is blue tack. Blue tack is something you might just have lying around the house, right? You can raid the craft box from the kids or something, or the grandkids, right? And we can get a piece of this out, maybe sort of warm it up, because it is better when it's a bit warm. So, because you know, this is feeling a bit cold, right? And we want to sort of like stretch this out a little bit. Right, and then what we're going to do is rip off again a guesstimated amount. Right, and we're going to cover our cockpit with this. Right, so just sort of going right up to the edge as much as you can. Right, it doesn't matter if we're not like completely like, you know, we've got, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to make sure that we're going to cover up all the nice see-through parts. Right, we definitely don't want them not being covered. Right, we can always, you know, paint up any bits that maybe have sort of gone over maybe just a little bit onto the surface detail or something. Right, we can always repaint those bits, but this is just a quick, let's just cover up all our nice shiny glass parts.